All and welcome. Happy New Year. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Project Connect Community Advisory Committee to order on Thursday, January 8th. It's 5:04 p.m. at the Austin Transit Partnership Office Boardroom at 203 Colorado Street. We'll start with the call to order and then we'll jump into other items. So Chair Zahar, I'm here. Vice Chair Summers. I'm here. Secretary Garza. Mr. Gorse.
I'm here.
Mr. Brooks.
Here.
Mr. Crossley.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Berry.
Here.
And then our new members we also want to welcome as we're going through our roll call as well. So Edgardo Alexander Handel. Cutter Gonzalez.
Here.
Liz McGee.
Here.
And Stacy Suits. Well, welcome all very much. We're excited to have you all here. We're going to be going over most of the things that we're going to be working on is really going in onboarding and going over some of the things that have been happening to make sure that we're all caught up. As we get started, I'm going to ask Ms. Berry if you could lead us through the land acknowledgement.
Yes. Happy New Year, everyone. To ground yourself before starting this meeting, it's important to talk about the history of this region. Long before it came to be known as Waterloo or Austin, this region has drawn people here for thousands of years, in part because of our waterways and the wealth of natural resources. This region has been home to the Tonkawa, the Coahuilteca, as well as the Comanche, Lipanapache, Sana, Humanos, and many others I may not have named who were also caretakers of this land. I highlight this history because Native and Indigenous peoples are routinely erased from the conversation, referred to as having disappeared or having been conquered. Native and Indigenous peoples are still here and present in what we now call Austin. The pursuit of white land ownership, profit, and the so-called progress has harmed Black, Indigenous, and people of color in this city. The effects of the legacy of settler colonialism, the theft of land, slavery, and genocide are still felt and present with us today. It's vital to keep this history in mind as you do this important work and to make a commitment to stop perpetuating the cycle of violence against Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Appreciate that. Our first item is the public comment. Do we have anybody signed up in advance? Mr. Banks? Ms. Joseph, you're welcome to, of course, provide testimony as well. Do you want to go ahead? You can just do it now if you're fine with it. We can wait for that for a second if you want to send them over. Or if you want to do it later when the item comes up, we can do that as well. Okay, we'll do it that way. Anybody else who is wishing to speak today? And for those online, just a reminder that if you raise your hand, we can move you over so you can actually speak to us as well. We'll give everybody a moment. Okay, not seeing that. Just one quick question, Ms. Joseph. Which item would you like to be, because we have three presentations, City of Austin, Cap Metro, and ATP. Is there a particular one you would like to go before? Okay, sounds good. This takes us to our first action item, which is the approval of our November 13th meeting minutes. Since we do have several new members, I just want to remind you that you are still fine with voting on the minutes, even if you were not present, as long as you feel comfortable with that. So I'll go ahead and see if there's anyone who wishes to make a motion to approve the November 13th CAC meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Do we have a second? I'll go ahead and second those. So we have, I see Mr. Gorse, you had a second as well. So we have a motion by Vice Chair Summers, second by Mr. Gorse to approve the November 13, 2025 meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
That, Mr. Crossley, can you indicate us what your vote is as well?
Hey, yeah, I can. I'm just listening while driving, so I can't do my video, so I think I can't vote. And so hopefully we have a quorum without me.
You're all good. Thank you so much. We'll take that as a voice note so that passes unanimously. Thank you and drive safely. This takes us to our discussion item. So again, as I mentioned, we're going to have staff from all three entities coming and talking to us today. And we'll start with the City of Austin. The way we'll do this, members, is that we'll have staff from one entity go ahead and present. You can ask questions afterwards. If I feel like we're running out of time or it might eat into other people's presentations, I might pause and move on. But let's ask the questions at the end of each presentation so that if staff needs to leave, they can. And thank you so much, Mr. Parthmuller.
Hi, hello. I'm Peter Parthmuller with the City of Austin's Project Connect office, and welcome to CAC. Thank you for having me. I'm gonna get us started here. Give Giannis a chance. But just to give a little bit of an introduction to myself, to me, I'm Peter Parthmuller. I'm a strategic communications consultant with the City of Austin, based in the Central Communications Office, but my primary focus has been the Project Connect office. I worked for 7 years at CAC Metro also, and now almost 3 years at the city. And so I've been involved with Project Connect since before the election, and very excited to continue to be here and working on it and meeting y'all. So thank you very much. To begin with, I'm going to go over a little bit of the basics, some of which you may already know as new members and just in your experience as Austin residents. But just to go over it a little bit, the three different roles for the organizations. The city. The City of Austin, in addition to being the taxing entity to raise the taxes that fund Austin Transit Partnership and the light rail and CAP Metro services, we manage the $300 million in displacement prevention funding that was a part of the election, the vote in 2020. That is managed through our housing department, Austin Housing. We are Austin Planning. The planning department manages the Equitable Transit-Oriented Development Program along with our partners at CAP Metro. Through planning, also the city is the land use manages and in charge of the land use regulations. Our Project Connect office is a small office. It's about 10 to 15 staff members, including those like me who are based in other departments. But we all have experience within the city, working with our utilities, Austin Energy and Austin Water and Watershed Protection. Our Development Services Department, we have a staff member who's been involved in permitting for the last 25 years and can advise both city staff members in different departments, our partners at CAP Metro and in Austin Transit Partnership on the permitting process. Engineering support through our staff members in the utilities also are very important. And then ATP is financing, planning, and building Austin Light Rail. They will tell you all about that later in the evening. CAP Metro itself is implementing and operating Metro Rapid lines that are already in service, 2 launched last year. The pickup service, which is an on-demand service, they will eventually operate Austin Light Rail when that is built and in service, and they are planning and building park and rides at the end of the lines of the new Metro Rapid lines. And their planning department is also working on equitable transit-oriented development, especially on CAP Metro-owned property. So through Austin Planning, I've got the remote. Sorry about that. Our Equitable Transit-Oriented Development team is led by Stevie Greathouse, the division manager, and then there are 2 different teams working on ETOD. Warner Cook is the principal planner, and she manages the system-wide ETOD planning. And so that covers all of the Project Connect services. So that's the light rail alignment, the 2 Metro Rapid lines, the red line, and eventual green line commuter rail lines. And so her team is looking at the ETOD overlays and regulatory framework for the entire Project Connect system. Ana Villarreal manages the station area planning, and so that's specifically around the light rail stations, the current commuter rail systems, commuter rail stations, and Metro Rapid stations. So ETOD. Sorry about that, catching up myself. I'm not going to read out these slides. They will definitely be shared with you after the meeting, so you can go through them at your own leisure. And please reach out to us if you have questions. You can do that through Giannis. Giannis will be able to forward any questions and any comments you have directly to staff, whether that's me or the planning department or housing. But TOD is a planning approach that essentially is looking to put housing, businesses, retail, restaurants, community services around transit to really take advantage of the power of transit and high capacity transit, especially. Equitable TOD takes that framework, that planning process of transit-oriented development, and does so with the intention of making sure that the transit services benefit those who need it the most. Everyone in the city, all Austinites, especially communities of color and low income residents. Austin's ETOD goals span the entire city and all of its residents. We're looking at transportation. We're looking at racial and health and wellness, health and wealth gaps. We're looking at affordable housing, access to high quality jobs, placing jobs around transit, placing transit around job centers, that sort of thing. Healthy neighborhoods, because transit use equates to healthy lifestyles, whether you're getting out of your cars, you're walking more, you're reducing greenhouse gas emissions through moving travelers from their cars into buses and onto trains. And then, of course, cultural and economic diversity. In terms of the Project Connect program and the Project Connect partners, the ETOD program involves all three of us. CAC Metro is the transit authority. Their planning department conducted an ETOD study, and with the city created an ETOD policy plan that was adopted by City Council. ATP as the planner, funder, and constructor of the light rail have been involved from the beginning. Again, as I said, the City of Austin is the land use authority, and we have been working throughout this process, and we will continue to work throughout this process with our community partners, with Austin residents, with you as the Community Advisory Committee, with community connectors and community-based organizations. The ETOD policy plan was adopted by City Council in 2023, and it lays out what the ETOD program, the Project Connect ETOD program through the City of Austin and CAC Metro, what it is, what it will be, and how we are intending to build up and provide affordable housing, provide transit users access to the services that will come through Project Connect. Within the ETOD policy plan, we state clearly our goals, stationary typologies, which just recognizes the differences in in each station, whether that's a Metro Rapid station, eventual light rail station, or the current Metro rail stations. They all exist in different contexts. The land use around them, who lives there, who uses each one. So stationary typologies just recognizes that and categorizes each of those. And then prioritizing station area planning. Again, that's just placing houses, placing housing units, placing jobs around station area, the transit stations, just so that we maximize the use of transit. The policy toolkit, it just lays out what the tools in our kit are, in how we develop around each station, recognizing the different communities around there, the different land uses around each one. And then there's a work plan, which is implementation, because having a plan without an implementation, having an overall vision plan without an implementation plan, this is no good. So examples of what we've done and what we're working on now include the ETOD overlay, which was adopted by City Council in 2024, which looked at the entire Project Connect system and how and where we want to build and for whom we want to build, current residents and future residents. Last year in 2025, the station area planning team worked through a community vision plan to get adoption from City Council on the North Lamar South Congress Transit Center station areas, which are 2 Cap Metro owned facilities. So looking at that as potential sites of ETOD, both residential uses, private business uses, community services, that sort of thing, looking at both the publicly owned land and the half-mile areas around it on all sides, looking at a half mile, because that's where you're going to get transit users, people able to walk, people able to bike to the rail stations. So those vision plans were adopted by City Council last year. Currently, the station area planning team is looking to update the regulating and vision plan for the East Riverside corridor, looking at from I-35 all the way to Ben White, to State Highway 71, which is like a really busy area for current Cap Metro services. Austin Light Rail will go down through the middle of East Riverside, almost that entire way, with 3, maybe even 4 stations. And so these regulating and vision plans will look at the corridor as like a really, really important part of Austin Light Rail, a really, really important part of current and future Cap Metro services, and a really important place for the city of Austin to look at as where can we locate affordable housing, where can we really take advantage of current and future transit services. The planning team invites you to visit their Speak Up Austin webpage, which is speakupaustin.org/ETOD. There you'll be able to learn more about what's happened, what will be happening, and also find out how to contact the team directly. And so, like I said, this presentation will be shared with you afterward. The next area of part of the city's program role in Project Connect is displacement prevention.
Before you proceed, can I just quickly say one thing?
Yes, sir.
So yes, for CSE members, I know this is like drinking from a fire hose. This is a lot of information. There's 2/3 more coming. So yes, the presentation slides will be shared with y'all. The idea is, of course, for you to be acquainted, go back, look at the video, feel free to ask questions. I just wanted to make sure you'll have all of this. There's no expectation for you to remember or know all of this. We just want to make sure that you're, sorry.
Thank you so much. That was supposed to be the first thing I was going to tell you, and it was not. So So there's a ton of, I just went through like 9 different slides for just one part of the city's role. And the important thing is just to introduce it to you. Like the city's role includes planning for ETOD, for land use regulations. And then for housing that I'm just about to talk about, we managed the $300 million in anti-displacement funding that was a part of the 2020 election that really emerged from community requests, from community engagement done prior to the election that we heard, we being the city of Austin back then, Cap Metro, prior to the formation of Austin Transit Partnership. But the community made clear that that we wanted these eventual services to benefit Austinites and the people who live here now, the people who need the transit service the most. And we didn't want the growth and the benefits that come from these great transit services to push people out of these areas now that will benefit from. And so part of the election process was to create this $300 million of funding to provide anti-displacement services for current residents, to look at opportunities to invest in land purchases and current affordable housing that exists there now, so that it's not bought by private entities, knocked down, and redeveloped into something that is no longer affordable to people who need transit. And so, just a high level look at the $300 million. It will be spent over 13 years, guided by you, members of the Community Advisory Committee. We have gone through City Council, through Community Catalyst, the CAC, and community members, because they are all key stakeholders who will inform the budget priorities as adopted by City Council. And we will continue to do that over the entire 13 years of the funding process. And you can see from here how the timeline from it, $300 million divided up over the 13 years. We are now currently in the second tranche, the years 4 through 8. You can see how it's divided up over time. And here's a little bit, a simple pie chart of where the money has been spent and will be spent. Affordable housing development is just that. It's building, it's investing in housing now along the Project Connect lines, both current bus service and a future Austin Light Rail service. More than half of it has been spent on land acquisition. An example of that is, you may have seen a couple of years ago, the city purchased the Tokyo Electron campus on East Riverside at Montopolis. That itself was about 100 acres. It's adjacent to another 18 or 20 acres that the city already owned. And so combined, it's 125 acres of undeveloped land that will provide city offices, eventually, potentially, affordable housing, community services, small businesses, retail. We're not sure. That process is just getting started, but that's an example of it was partially funded from the $300 million, in addition to other city funds.
You might be about to say this, but I think it's important to know that this pie chart won't stay the same throughout the 13 years.
Exactly.
Right. So that our early focus was, and this is guided by the CAC. So we have a working group that works on the anti-displacement funding and the working group gets together, discusses, makes recommendations to the CAC, and the CAC votes. But, our early focus was on land acquisition, but that I mean, it's up for debate. We don't know. That may not be always the biggest focus as it was in the early years, but we knew it to start with. Land acquisition is before we start pulling up, digging into the ground and building the light rail, that early on land acquisition is really important. That may change over the course of the project, or it may not. I just wanted to highlight that, especially because that's something we're going to be discussing relatively soon at the next meeting about what we're going to do. So.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Absolutely. You can see through here the amount funded each year has been decided, or has been mapped out anyway. What that is spent on has not yet been mapped out for the next 3 years. That has been discussed over the last 6 months or so with housing staff, with members of the CAC anti-displacement working group, and the full CAC will consider that potentially at the next meeting. The other large area that we're part of this pie chart that I'm looking at is immediate interversions, and that is services to current residents along Project Connect transit lines who are at risk of displacement. And so the way the city has managed that has been through a program called Community Initiated Solutions. And what we've done is funded community organizations that are working on the streets in the neighborhoods in the community now, currently. And so they already have networks set up. They already have a client base, and are providing these services to really serve the residents along Project Connect corridors who are there now, hopefully enabling them to remain in their homes, to remain in their neighborhoods, so that they can benefit from the services that are going to come. The way we've been thinking about it is that these are short-term priorities that will help us reach long-term goals of providing like equitable transit-oriented development and high-capacity transit services to low-income low-income residents and people of color and all Austinites along the corridors. So this last slide looks at where we've spent the money so far. We've spent about $120 million to date. That's a little less than half of the $300 million total. We are, 5 years into it? And so, as Ms. Summers indicated, CAC will play a role in how and where the remaining portion of the $300 million will be spent over the next 8 years. And that's where we are with for the housing program, for the anti-displacement funding program. And just lastly, I have the awesome Project Connect, which is our Project Connect office. And as I said, we are a small staff, but we're divided up, or we are represented by, we represent many different departments throughout the city. We have collectively dozens, more than 100 years of service within the City of Austin organization. We have networks and we have connections and we have experience. And so we are able to guide staff members in other departments, our coworker staff members in our program partners at CAP Metro and Austin Light Rail through the process as we build out the light rail service, as we implement the rapid services that CAP Metro will bring on board. And yeah, that's where I'll end up. I just want to say thank you very much for having us. Welcome to the CAC, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you. I'm happy to take any questions right now. And if not now, like I said, reach out to Giannis. He'll be able to forward your questions to me and to other city staff members.
Thank you, Peter. We'll open up to questions. I do want to acknowledge that committee member Stacy Suits has joined us as well. Thank you so much. As we proceed, I I do see a lot of City of Austin staff here. Do y'all want to just maybe come up and introduce yourself? Because you all have, made the hard task of coming here and joining us. So if you want to just come up and say hello and say your name, that would be great. And just so folks from the other entities know, I will be doing this to you as well. So
Hi, my name is Tamron Fennessy. I'm one of the public information officers for Austin Housing.
thank you, Tamron. Yeah, I'll open it up to questions from any committee members.
Okay, and if not, one other thing I do want to mention is that I will be helping you set up your City of Austin email addresses. And so I'll be giving that information, those instructions to Giannis, and he'll distribute them to you so that you can get that set up and start receiving emails and
Thank
Yeah.
you, Peter.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. This takes us to our next discussion item, which of course is, the work that our partners at Cap Metro are doing. I'll ask those staff teams to come up and guide us through it. And if you have any other colleagues that you want to call up, please go ahead and do that as well.
Hi, I'm Catherine Youngbluth. I'm the Senior Director of Long Range Planning at Cap Metro.
And hi, Melissa Ortiz, Director of Community Engagement and Involvement at Cap Metro.
Thanks so much for having us today. We're excited to present to you Cap Metro's role in Project Connect. Peter gave us a great intro and orientation with sort of our roles in his beginning slide. So I'm happy to just go from there based on that knowledge and share with you what we have today. So next slide. Excuse me. So the first slide here is orienting you with a foundational document of how Cap Metro's roles are envisioned as part of the Project Connect. There's a joint powers agreement that was struck around the same time that a few years back, around 2020, and then it was revised in 2023, and it outlined the items that you see on the slide here: responsibility of Project Connect components, the CAC member selection and Cap Metro's role in that, coordination with ATP, funding for Project Connect components that Cap Metro is responsible for, and then how Cap Metro is involved with the light rail project, environmental design, construction, operations. And then it also includes, of course, the City of Austin and our roles and responsibilities and coordination elements with them as well. Next slide. Great. So these are the Project Connect components that Cap Metro is responsible for. Bus service, for example, bus rapid transit, and that's what we call rapid here. Also pickup services, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Express routes. And then for commuter rail projects, responsibilities and projects envisioned on the red line and the green line. It also includes transit facilities such as park and rides and operation and maintenance facilities. And we'll talk about a little bit, just give you a brief overview of what's happening with those currently and some of the things we envision happening in the next year or near future. Next slide. So the first element that I'll discuss is the transit service, and that's the rapid lines, the bus rapid transit lines. So we received in 2022 FTA capital investment grant for $38 million for two lines, what is known as Rapid 800 and Rapid 837. Those lines are actually in operations today. Many of you hopefully have used them. They're very popular and they're doing very well. They include the 3 new park and ride facilities, and then the frequency of the service is 10 to 15 minutes. It's also a bus electric fleet, and then it has end-of-line charging facilities associated with it. It goes from the, excuse me, the 837 goes from, sorry, I got my slide. downtown in the northeast direction to Decker. And then the 800 goes from South Austin to Mueller along Pleasant Valley. Next slide. The next transit service I'll discuss is the pickup service. This is an on-demand point-to-point service within defined zones. There's a fare of $1.25 for one way. And you'll see here a list of pickup services that we have delivered since Project Connect was approved. Pickup services connect individuals and people within the defined zone to places like the grocery store, doctor's offices, and things of that nature. The next Project Connect element that I'll talk about is the commuter rail projects. The list here is the status of things that we have begun to work on and are going to work on in the near future. Lakeline Leander double tracking. That was essentially a double track, going from a single track rail line to a double track rail line to improve efficiencies and service between the Lakeline and Leander stations. McCullough Station was a new station that was constructed and was completed in February 2024. Plaza Saltillo is a raise grant. We received a raise grant on that project and it started design in 2025. It is a project for double tracking and platform expansions, and it supports the red line and then the future green line. We hope in the near future to start work, and we're examining options to work on the green line as well. And so we're determining project components and evaluating funding and phasing and the options for moving that forward. Here are some transit facilities that were envisioned by Project Connect that are underway and that will be starting in the very near future. One is charging facilities at our 2910 East 5th Street address. And we completed those charging facilities in 2024. There's also the Expo Park and Ride project that's a part of the rapid project I discussed a few moments ago. And that will be completed in 2026. And then there's one at Goodnight Ranch, and also that for the 800 line that will be completed in 2026 as well. And then we are also funding a project through the Project Connect program for a South-based demand response center. And that's basically a facility for those access and pickup buses that is on the south side of Austin. The funding agreement was established in 2025, and we're doing resource mobilization to begin the project in 2026. I kept it short and sweet. I'm happy to come back anytime to talk about any of those elements with you all. Here's my contact information, and I'm happy to take questions.
And Catherine, if I can add, so for Rapids, the 10 to 15 minute service and also the all electric fleet, it's something that we're working towards for summer 2026.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Melissa.
I was just curious. I didn't see anything about the Broadmoor station, or is that something CAP Metro is doing too?
That is a CAP Metro project. However, it's not funded by the Project Connect.
Oh, okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Edgar, this is something you'll see all the time. It's sometimes heartbreaking with the Project Connect work because there's, it's kind of intermingled, but also we're welcome to, if you have questions related to Broadmoor and if staff, can answer it, happy to do that as well. But the reason you probably won't see it here is because of that reason. You'll see this throughout all the different presentations.
Where does
Do you want to?
where does the funding come for the Broadmoor station? Or is that just not their Project Connect? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. We would have to get back to you.
Okay.
Make sure we're giving you the right information.
It's maybe not, I guess, relevant to this board, but
We can still get you that information. We can still get you that information.
thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Handel. Other committee members with questions? Go ahead, Ms. Summers.
Yeah, and Broadmoor has started construction. As a famous presidential candidate once said, she can see Russia from her house, but she can't really. I can see Broadmoor from my house, but I can't really. But kind of almost. So anyway, I'm keeping an eye on that, but it started. So I had a question actually about the next round of rapids. So there are other rapid lines that are contemplated in the in Project Connect vote, right? And so those are obviously much longer term, and well, I'm sure people apply for grants and things like that. But I would say as we move into 2026, I would like to, start hearing more from, and we talked about it a little bit with the long range planning process that just passed, but I would like to obviously continue that conversation about the next round of rapids and how we'll prioritize and what we'll do. And aligning that obviously with y'all's long-term plan that was just passed in the fall. But I do think it's also for our committee members, I think it's really, really important that there tends to be so much focus on Austin Light Rail that I think it can be really easy to forget that these other transit elements are funded in Project Connect. And that's something that we know that bus ridership is not going away. Bus ridership will always be a part of our city and our system. So it's really, really important to keep really focused on making sure we're delivering those upgrades as well. So I think our CAC has done a good job of that, and hopefully we'll continue to, but we'll be wanting to talk more about that this year, I think, as well. So
Hey, we're happy to come back and chat with you about that for sure.
So anyway, just exciting, really exciting to see those, finally getting to their full frequency this year and starting to think about where we go next is really exciting. So thank you for the presentation.
Go ahead, Gutter.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, y'all. My primary mode of transit is cycling or walking. And so I'm curious about what elements of cycling infrastructure are part of Project Connect's process versus independent of that.
So planning wise, we look at it as a full system, but that is also something that is not funded through Project Connect.
So we can.
I always forget that. Metro Bike is, as far as I can tell, fully funded, although they keep adding new stations to the plan, which then require further funding.
Yeah. Yes, the city owns the bike share, and Cap Metro operates the bike share, but it is a city asset.
So Commissioner Gonzalez, what we'll do is we'll ask staff to come back and talk to that. We've had that sort of thing because it truly is a partnership between the city of Austin. I know Mr. Barthmuller, if you wanted to add something as well. And of course, Cap Metro and how all of those different modes intersect. So I'm going to place that as an sort of item to bring back for sure.
And there's also, we had presentations from them last year. So if you go back and look at some of our old meeting recordings, you can get a ton more detail was shared with us then. So I'll try to find which month and I can email you. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Other questions that anybody knows staff or government staff?
Okay, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. This takes us to our onboarding presentation from the ADP team, which I know is also providing us an update on the light rail project as well. The last bell will come home. And since they have not been officially introduced, you probably have to talk with them. Yanis Max, who really helps us guide to.
Excuse me. Sorry. I can't. It's hard to hear you. I don't know if you don't have your mic on or I don't.
Sorry, Ms. Berry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that reminder. I was going to say we have staff from ATP coming up. I was just going to say my apologies. I should have mentioned both Mr. Yanis Max, who helps guide us through the process of the meetings with ATP, and then Sophie Petkus back there as well, are the two people who you'll hear most from. They're both with ATP and help guide us through this process. And then we have a bunch of other colleagues and friends from ATP as well, including Ms. Jocelyn Wilkes. But I'll let the ATP folks guide us through this piece.
I'm going to start it. We have a combination, like two agenda items here, but we're all up here at the same time because we have one deck, but we'll pause appropriately. And our first slide here, it's actually, so thank you, Chair, for, we just wanted to recognize everybody in the room. We have the pleasure of hosting you all here at our office. So you get to know a few of our, you can go to the next slide. Oh, maybe I can go to the next slide. Sorry about that. I don't know. these are all the people in the room from ATP. So I'm Jennifer Pine, and actually those up here, we can introduce ourselves. Before we do that, I just want to note we have, as you mentioned, Jocelyn Vokes runs our community engagement program. Giannis Banks is always here, kind of staffing the CAC, and you'll interact with him quite a bit. Sophie, also, you get lots of emails from her, and Kate and Daniel are from our IT, so you always see them here. So we just want to make sure you know kind of who's who and that you feel comfortable talking to everybody. And I know Lynn is first up. Maybe if you want to introduce and take it from there.
Sure. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I am Lynn Stroud, Senior Manager of Legal Services and Records Management for ATP. I just wanted to come here tonight to represent our small but mighty legal department here at ATP, go over just some of the things that you may have already read about in your ethics policy that was sent to you. If you don't already have a copy of your ethics policy, please let me know of our ATP ethics policy, and I can go ahead and get that information to you. But everything on this slide is basically just some of the responsibilities of the CAC members, assisting the Austin City Council, the CAP Metro Board, and ATP in engaging the community and advising on anti-displacement and equity matters related to Project Connect in its entirety, as well as to assist the community and City Council in creation and evaluation of neighborhood level anti-displacement strategies and priorities, and the identification of key performance indicators related to equity and displacement. That is a very, very long statement, but there are some other things listed on here, such as recommendations made by the CAC related to displacement mitigation measures. There's also some discussion in ethics training that you will be provided with regards to our joint powers agreement and how the CAC was formed. We had an original ethics policy here at ATP that I believe was executed back in 2021, and we have updated that ethics policy in 2024. And that does require some execution and completion of forms on your part. If you haven't received an email from me, please feel free to reach out and let me know if you have any questions related to legal matters here at ATP. I am also the main point of contact for public information requests. So you can always reach out to me if you have a question regarding to legal PIRs, also anything that's related to media, we can go ahead and get you to the correct department.
Can I quickly take a moment to say something there? Mr. Parthmuller had mentioned we're going to make sure everybody gets a city boards and commission email. I would highly encourage anyone and everyone to utilize that email for all of your communication related to CAC business. Even if someone emails you on your personal email, happens all the time with me, just copy your BC email. What that does is if there's a PIR that is filed, you won't have to go through your email. Staff can just go through it. If it's in your personal email, then you will have to go through it. That's time on your end. So I would highly encourage you all to either always copy the BC email or make sure that you're using it. But of course, we're going to make sure that you're more fully trained on that as well.
I think that's everything that I had to share. As long as all the members have reviewed their ethics policy training. Is that it? Oh, that's more for me. Okay, great. Okay, so just wanted to run over some quick general ethical standards of conduct and anything that might be prohibited conduct. Accepting or soliciting influential gifts, favors, services, or benefits is prohibited. Disclosing confidential or non-public information is also prohibited. Negotiating for or accepting other employment that could reasonably impair judgment or impede performance of ATP official duties. Making conflicting personal investments or having a personal financial interest that could impair performance of ATP duties. Utilizing ATP time, property, facilities, or equipment for non-official business. Knowingly making false or misleading statements or providing false information in the course of ATP business. And engaging in political activity while on duty or using ATP resources for political activity.
I'll make another quick note there, which is if you're ever in doubt, feel free to reach out to staff and they'll guide you through it. So, we'll occasionally have someone who has a change in employment, might be confused or anything at all, just reach out and our staff will help guide you and answer any questions that you might have. We do not expect you to understand what all of this means and how it applies.
I'll go ahead and hand it off, but thank you everyone for your time. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thanks. So it's part of the onboarding and kind of the continuing onboarding. We're just going to talk a little bit about the Austin Light Rail project and status of it and provide an update to all. So again, I'm Jennifer Pine with Austin Transit Partnership. And if I could ask my colleagues to introduce before we get rolling.
Hello, Lindsay Wood with Austin Transit Partnership, responsible for design and construction.
Lisa Storr, also at ATP and over architecture and design. Thanks.
So we'll start with the first phase of Austin Light Rail. This is it. It's about 10 miles of light rail that we are advancing. So the origin story of how we got to this about 10 miles culminated in June of 2023. Many of you may have already been tracking at that time, but that was the when this project was determined to be the first phase. At that time, back in spring of 2023, there was a set of 5 options that were under consideration, and a robust community-driven process kind of led us to this place. So this is 15 stations on about 10 miles. As you can see, from UT to downtown, a new bridge across Lady Bird Lake, south on South Congress, and then east down East Riverside. Since that moment in 23, this is the project we've been continuing to advance through the federal process, and we'll continue on with an update there. Where are we in the timeline? We are still in the project development phase, which means we are completing our environmental review. We're doing preliminary design, and we're planning how we will deliver this project. But as we're getting into 2026, we are moving into additional steps, getting into more detailed engineering. And Lindsay.
Yes, as we complete our environmental studies, we are very excited to move into the next phase of final design and construction and bringing our contractors on board here very shortly, which we'll tell you all a little bit more about here in a bit, and beginning construction as early as 2027.
So this is just to, give you a flavor of what we're talking about. We're talking about light rail and what it would look like here, because it is different from the red line in a couple of ways. It runs in the street, in the existing public right-of-way. It's electric and would operate with the traffic signals, which is an item that we're coordinating very closely with the city on. And so these photos just give you some examples from other cities to give you an idea. Just one note on the actual vehicles. That's something, we'll have vehicles designed for our system, and that's one of the procurements kind of coming up this year.
And maybe worth highlighting too, since we don't have light rail here today, a few ways. You mentioned some that are different from the commuter rail that currently exists. The light rail will be fully electrically powered and will have service every 5 to 10 minutes along the alignment. So the idea being that you don't necessarily even need to look up a schedule. You can just go to the light rail station and know that a train will be there soon.
And now I get the fun part to show off some very exciting artist conceptual visualizations to you all and sort of ground our ideas of what this could look like from that map, right? So this area is an area along East Riverside that has a component inboard in the median that we're calling sort of the pedestrian and bicycle components as well, near the light rail as it runs. The opportunities along East Riverside Drive are quite different from other areas of the alignment because we have a very large right-of-way there, and we have a lot of difficulty with the current conditions from a safety perspective of pedestrians and other modes. We also have a lot of driveways along that area and turning, so we've sort of flipped the script here and brought those other modes sort of nearby to those stations. So along this whole alignment, we have 5 stations, and this path essentially connects directly to those platforms. Let's see. Okay, this is also in that eastern segment, and it really shows how our project, as part of Project Connect, aligns with that 800 rapid that runs north-south here on Pleasant Valley to connect as a node with the light rail at the Pleasant Valley station, and really where you're headed there toward downtown. Next, we have a visualization near the UT station. And this is also a unique sort of modal condition within the alignment, where we are limiting sort of modes here from both a safety and a space constraint perspective to pedestrians, bicycles, bus riders, and light rail riders, and working very closely with UT and other stakeholders. Here we have our southern end of line, so along South Congress and Old Torf, just south of the Old Torf intersection, where you can see sort of the newest HEB in our Austin area. I think that's right. But you can kind of see the elements of this plaza condition taking advantage of a system site connecting to that end of line station area. And then the last one here sort of gives the viewer an image of what it could be like riding that train across a new bridge across Lady Bird Lake, looking toward our ever-changing skyline of downtown Austin. And I think with that, we will actually pause for any Q&A from particularly the new CAC members, because this was the sort of review before we go into an update.
Thank you. Any questions? And for folks online, I'm so sorry, just a reminder that we can't see you while folks are presenting. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask us. And we do have a note from our interpreter reminding us to slow down. Okay, I think we might be ready to continue, and then we can maybe combine questions if folks have any.
Here we go. So an update, we have been in the federal process in the pipeline for the New Starts Grant Program for a little bit now, since May of 2024. So we've achieved some very big milestones of late. One of those is the rating. As part of the grant program, your project needs to be rated against a set of criteria that's laid out by the FTA. And so that in November, I think it was, the FTA kind of released their ratings. And so they gave Austin Light Rail a medium high, which is a great thing. So a medium high, that is the highest rating they gave this cycle, and actually most cycles, honestly. And so we weren't the only one to get that rating. However, it demonstrates that it's seen that this is a competitive project for these New Starts funds. So that was a big win, I think, for us. The other big achievement is the NEPA process. That is the federally required environmental review process that we've been engaged in since 2024. And some of you who have been with us for a while might remember we really started out with a huge series of public meetings in January of 2024. Which was really gathering information and getting ready to kind of prepare the studies. We came back in January of 2025 with a draft environmental impact statement, which is all of the analysis and the preliminary design plans that analysis is based on. We received quite a bit of public comment and feedback during a period, particularly from January through March of 25. And since then, we've taken that feedback and done some additional analysis, done some design refinements, and we've prepared our final environmental impact statement, which we're on target to be completing that this month. So we're working through that with FTA. So there is a 2-year deadline to complete NEPA projects that I believe was put in place during the first Trump administration. So we will be meeting that deadline, which is something that we're proud of, because for such a complicated project and if you looked at the EIS, a robust analysis to complete all that in a transparent process with a lot of community engagement is something that we're proud of. So what all of this readies us to do is to kind of keep going into the next step of engaging our final design and construction contractor teams to kind of carry on with final design and ready for construction. So we wanted to take a minute to note just how does feedback inform the project, because it is something that our whole team is engaged in, understanding what the comments are and kind of where there are opportunities to respond to them. You'll find when the final EIS is released, every comment we received during that public comment period is included there with a response. And some of the things that we've been working on include just reducing property impacts. There are no residential displacements anticipated, based on our current preliminary design. I should say that it's always a principle of ours that we want to reduce property impacts or impacts on the community as a kind of matter of principle, and we'll kind of continue in that path as design advances. But the community feedback was particularly kind of critical in refining some of our park and ride concepts that would be proposed at the end of the line. And there's some key kind of design areas that are very complicated that we'll continue to engage with stakeholders. Finally, one element of the NEPA process as we conclude is that there are mitigation commitments that we make to be followed throughout the implementation of the project to make sure that we are avoiding, reducing or minimizing any adverse impacts. So although I'm really speaking to feedback that we heard really primarily in 2025, it's not the end. It's really closer to the beginning. And as we continue with design work in 26 and beyond, there's going to be more opportunities for public input.
And this is just kind of picking up actually from some of the previous work that some of the CAC members that have been part of the CAC for years might remember. We did a lot of work early on user experience research and how best to essentially make Austin Light Rail feel embedded within the city of Austin. So we have now established a set of design goals that establish a people-centered, performance-based design. This is really an example of the whole transit environment as something we're looking at. So not just the alignment of the light rail and the elements on the station platforms, but also thinking about that user journey from the moment you start planning your trip through your journey getting to and from the station, as well as your experience on the train itself. And as part of that, we put forward essentially 5 performance-based design goals to frame out what will end up being our final design and construction that will focus on user experience, the outdoors and connecting people to the spaces and places of Austin, culture and making sure that we're reinforcing and enhancing neighborhood character, placemaking, making sure that light rail is a memorable system, people know where you are within it, and enhancing that local character through artwork or other elements, and then really building a system that Austin can be proud of for decades to come as one of legacy.
And having these design goals is especially important as we bring on our contractors so that we have clear expectations on what we want our partners who will be designing and building this system to work with us on to deliver to those expectations. And the delivery contracting model that we are using is called progressive design build. And what that means is that we bring the contractor on board who will ultimately build the system. They have their design designers within their team. They're architects and engineers, but we bring them on very early in the process. So rather than us taking the design to 100% and being ready to build, we're bringing them on board much closer to, say, a 30% design level. And that allows us to bring that constructability perspective early that helps us align the project design, cost, and schedule. And that helps us to manage the risks of the project as well. So I mentioned that first contractor, we are on track to bring that selection following our procurement process to our board for consideration of action early this year. Once we work through the negotiations process, we will then follow that with the second contract that we are using for the system, that is for the operations and maintenance facility, staggered by a couple of months later. And around that same time frame in the second quarter of this year, we are targeting selecting the manufacturer of the light rail vehicles. And we'll be bringing them on board for early coordination with the two design build contractors so that our designers can be designing with the actual trains in mind that will be operating on the system.
This public information?
This timeline here?
Well, the last pieces of the timeline, bringing people on board at particular timeframes.
Yes, this timeline is public information.
Okay.
We have presented this to our board at regular updates, and this all is consistent with that information and has not changed for many of those recent updates.
I'd also say if you go to the ATP website and look at like contracting and bid opportunities, like, if, like pretending like you're going to develop something, that's all posted there, for people to do submissions. So,
yes.
Well, I asked whether it was public information or whether you had to sneak around to.
No.
Okay.
So as we bring those partners that we just discussed, we will soon be contracting with on board. One of the early activities that we will be engaging them with is to think about how this system will be built. And what I mean by that is the phasing or the sequencing, meaning where will we begin building? You don't build along the entire 10 miles, doing all the same things at all the same time. And so having our contractor's perspective to help us think about how that work will be sequenced, which will be very important as we coordinate and communicate with our stakeholders along the alignment.
So among other things in 2026 to be ready for construction, one of them is thinking about the businesses along the alignment. We've certainly heard from feedback that concern about disruptions during construction. And so for probably the first half or so of 2026, we're going to be engaged in a needs assessment, holding focus groups and going directly to businesses and business organizations to talk about different ways to support them before and during construction. We've done a lot of research in other cities, other agencies that provide some good ideas and examples, but we want to make sure that it is absolutely tailored to Austin and the businesses and the types of businesses that are along our corridor.
One of the other aspects we're excited about standing up this year is ATP's public art program, where we will be sort of soliciting and curating art to be integrated with the stations and other aspects of the light rail.
And last, I will highlight that we are happy to be part of a regional partnership with, our other fellow transportation entities, providers and entities across the area with TxDOT, the city, CAC Metro, CTRMA with and the airport on what is called the Construction Partnership Program, acknowledging that there is $25 billion plus of public infrastructure construction that will be occurring over the roughly same 10-year period of time. And we need to be very closely coordinated so that our community has a single source of information and doesn't need to know whether to go to ATP's website or the city's website or TxDOT's to understand how they will get from point A to point B during this construction, and having a single platform that integrates all of that information so that there will be one source of messaging to our community while we complete these transformative projects for our region. I think that brings us to any questions that we would be happy to take.
Thank you all. And again, we'll stop sharing this slide so we can hopefully look at folks as well. But folks with questions, and we'll start with Ms. Summers.
It's more of a comment. I'm really excited to see the notice about public art, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that more. I just recently got appointed to a third city commission thing because I'm just a glutton for punishment. But it's called the Public Spaces Task Force, the Mayor's Public Spaces Task Force. And as you probably know, there's been a lot of consternation in the community. There's been some changes both federally and statewide regarding street markings in the right of way that may send messages or commemorate different communities and values that we have in our city. And so there's a lot of talk about how to make sure that we're not losing that type of community messaging, place building. And so I would just like to put forward to ATP that that's a 90-day commission that's going on. And so that could be an opportunity for coordinating, and certainly something that I've already brought up to the committee, that I think that like this is an opportunity to really think through how to translate those types of communities, identities, commemorations into our new transit with Austin Light Rail. So I just want to just highlight that, and definitely I know that you were already on our radar. I'm sure we're already on your radar as you build out that public art program to come to CAC, but I think that's an important opportunity to coordinate between the city and ATP.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Other folks with questions, go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, thanks so much for this. This is great. I have a kind of general process curiosity that I recognize is beyond phase one, but for that, the NEPA process is so intensive, and y'all have done such a thorough job. I've seen the 1,600 page or whatever document. As we beyond 2033 look at expanding even this line, let alone other lines, is that NEPA process something that has to be redone entirely, or what's that like?
So the NEPA process is required when there's a federal component, a federal funding component or other federal nexus. And so when, and of course, as you know, like the system it's designed to be expandable. That's the goal. So when extensions are planned and advanced, if federal funds are involved, then yes, we would do a NEPA analysis on the extension that's proposed. So I think the answer is yes, if that's.
And that would probably be a shorter thing for like a station at the end versus this 10-mile build, right?
I mean, presumably, yes. It probably depends. I mean, extensions can be lengthy or shorter, and but yes, there would be NEPA required for it.
I don't envy that process. It's something.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Berry.
Thank you so much for the updates. I want to echo what Susan was saying, and I also, it's more of just a comment. I'm really looking forward to learning more about the feedback that you guys get from the businesses throughout this process. That's one of the things that I've heard from some community members, just the concern with the businesses. And I also attended a anti-displacement network conference, and that was one of the main things, is talking about how businesses can really be displaced when it comes to transportation growth and additions. And so I really look forward to hearing a lot more about that. So thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Go ahead, Mr. Handel.
Yeah, I was really happy to see the rating from the new starts, the medium high. It was interesting. Particularly glad to hear that it was a particularly high rating compared to it was very competitive and higher than is usually given in other years. And I was curious if we had a good sense. I assume it was a lot more to the evaluation. That what was it that set Austin Light Rail apart? Was it that we did well, and what was maybe room for improvements for the future? If we, if like Cutter said, we do have to do this, perhaps we have to do it again at some point.
Yep. No, actually, that's a great question. There's a lot of components to that rating. They have a way of calculating environmental benefits. They look at mobility benefits and the like. But as for the question of maybe what was a differentiator, I would offer like the work that the city has done over the last couple of years on land use policy, because there's been quite a bit done to think about different high capacity transit investments, whether light rail or bus, and how to plan for that. So the ETOD overlay and other changes, the parking policies that have changed, those I think really were a distinguisher and resonated. That's what I would say. I can't remember. There's lots of different scores that roll up into the medium high, and I can't remember them all, but that was one that I think it exceeded our expectations.
Okay, thanks.
Other committee members with questions or comments? Yeah, I'll just honestly, I think one of the things that I wanted to mention with this is, again, committee members, you'll see we'll be getting back, particularly as this project moves forward, particularly this year, there's a number of light rail elements. So we'll be getting sort of continuous presentations and conversations will continue. I just wanted to sort of let you know this is sort of the snippet of the first piece, but there's a bunch of stuff coming down the pipeline this year. Okay, well, thank you all very much. I know we had public comment from Ms. Joseph. Ms. Joseph, you have not been forgotten. And we know we have a presentation from you. We'll ask you to come up and then we'll continue with the rest of our agenda as well.
That's not it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph. We'll give you 3 minutes from whenever you want to start. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I'm Zenobia Joseph. Mr. Chair, I have a technical question. I just wondered who actually types the minutes for your meetings?
Our staff helps us do that. So our staff helps us with that.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to amend the minutes because I was looking for a different slide from Bill McCamley today, and I recognize that at the bottom of 2 of the previous presentations, so February 8th, 2024 and March 7th, 2024, it didn't identify the speakers. It just says 2 citizens gave comments. And then fast forward to May 9th, 2024, that's when you had a presentation from the elder attorney, and her name and information is actually there. And then you had a presentation from Capital Metro on Title VI, and then it mentions Commissioner Brooks and the comments that he made. So I just have to respectfully say it's viewpoint discrimination, or it at least comes across that way, because you don't have to agree with the comments I make, but they are, as always, in the context of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin. So this is the slide that I had in that presentation at the beginning, and that's a North Corridor locally preferred alternative. I am adamant about this Palmer Lane lack of transit. I just want to remind you that there are 3 HEBs, Samsung to Apple. There are over 5,000 jobs, according to it was Member Stratton at the time that he mentioned it. And so there's no transportation there, and Capital Metro eliminated it. I just want to remind you that 58% of the jobs will be in the North Corridor by 2035. Next slide.
Real quick, sorry, Ms. Joseph, I hate to cut you off, but we cannot see the presentation, those of us online.
Okay, thank you for highlighting that, Ms. Berry. We will do that, and this will not count against your time, Ms. Joseph.
Thank you,
Sorry
Mr.
to interrupt. Thank you.
No. Thank you for highlighting that, and please, always remind us. It's hard sometimes to know in the room. Give us a moment here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Ms. Joseph, please continue.
Okay. The only other thing I'll say about the Palmer Lane area, Mr. Chair, is there's a 425-acre development, East Village, which is across from Samsung. So while you are chasing ridership on this phantom light rail line, the density is in the North Corridor and it's not going away. Next slide. I just want to remind you that this was another slide that I had. This was from March. So when you update the minutes, I would just ask you to remind your staff that Hyde Park was developed exclusively for white people. And specifically, I just want to remind you that it was council that spent $3.76 million for a 1-acre detention pond, which killed the affordable housing at the Baker School. And this is where the light rail would terminate. Next slide. I just want you to see what it looks like on North Lamar, Runberg area. This is Runberg compared to the Burnett Road corridor. There's no terracotta sidewalks. If you ever go to Dobie Middle School on the left, that little inset at the very top, that was a pregnant lady who was sitting on the ground after getting her groceries on Saturday from the food pantry. And then they put the shelter that you see on the left. But on the right, in the very top, you'll see this gentleman with a basket because Capital Metro hasn't even put a trash can in the area, and they've not put any type of shelter there as well. And so I want you to remember that your system in its entirety must be anti-discriminatory. Next slide. The only terracotta that appears on the Runberg area is right next to this Alma sign. And it's literally just a sliver. So when I say it's not equitable, this is what I mean. These sidewalks are plain. There are no markings. There are no signs. But what I want you to realize is that the fraud comes from Capital Metro because Sharmila Mukherjee, the planning vice president, actually said that 50% of the 22 enhanced bus stops are in Runberg. I think you can recognize that that is just not true. Fraud is trying to get something of value through willful misrepresentation, and that's from the Government Accountability Office 2017. And there are just 2 quick slides after that, and I'll be done. I know I have to slow down for the person that actually translates. This was yesterday, Runberg, North Lamar, and I just want to remind you that it was the city of Austin that actually acknowledged their discriminatory practices in the Walk, Bike, Roll Austin Strategic Mobility Plan update in 2023. It's on page 37. So the equitable transit-oriented development and all of the information that sounded so wonderful from Mr. Peter earlier is just not the reality on Runberg. And this is one of the most dangerous intersections in the city. So sorry that we can't buy into the light rail and the Broadmoor station and the ongoing construction for the rail, but this is the reality. The system is discriminatory, and the city just needs to do what it has with the funding that it gets from the federal government, because they have money for lighting, they have money for sidewalks and safe routes to school, and they've not invested in this area still. I think that's it, Mr. Chair, and I thank you for allowing me to complete my slides. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you. I do just want to say 2 quick things as a follow-up, just to the committee members. There has been an ongoing conversation for new members as well, but for existing members as well, a request to have an item looking at how we're looking at infrastructural improvements for the Cap Metro site. So that is something that's still in our list of items. It will be hopefully coming soon so we can really dig into some of these questions. Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
Thank you.
Committee members, this takes us to our item of staff updates, which I'm assuming there might not be staff updates because we just heard from staff, but I'll ask again to see all three entities, City, Cap Metro, ATP, do we have any updates that staff wishes to provide at this time? Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Barthmuller.
I am Peter Parthmiller again from the City of Austin, and I just wanted to let you know of 3 upcoming events that, or 2 virtual webinar, town hall sort of thing, and then an in-person open house. I will give that information again to Giannis and Sophie, and they'll distribute them. But for this month, the open house is on January 24th at the Grove campus, which is the site of the former Tokyo Electron offices that the city has purchased in conjunction with housing and planning, Cap Metro, Austin Transit Partnership. Yeah, there'll be a lot of information about what's coming to East Riverside. And yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Barthmuller. Committee members, this takes us to our working group updates. There might not be a lot, but at least what I'll do is I'll start with providing an update on behalf of the anti-displacement working group, and Mr. Crossley, Ms. Berry, and Ms. Summers, feel free to jump in. Just to let you all know, as we mentioned, we have been working with our housing department and a consultant from Riftelis, and working with their team on looking at engaging with the community and understanding our recommendations regarding the anti-displacement funding. We will be bringing forth a recommendation, knock on wood. If everything goes according to plan, at the February committee meeting, we will all be voting on a recommendation. The working group will bring that to everybody, and Riftelis has been really helpful. They will have a much more detailed report that they will be producing as well, so you can look at all of the engagement process, but they helped us do several engagement with community members, also looking at existing programs and services from existing CIS and Project Connect funding, and also actually engaging with youth, which was very exciting and something we had asked for, which we've always struggled as a committee to do, but it's exciting to hear some of that as well. Ms. Summers.
And just to be clear, this is for the next tranche of anti-displacement funding, which comes out of the 300 million. You saw the breakdown that Mr. Parthmuller showed us in his presentation. And so this is a 3-year tranche of funding. And what we are deciding is like what should be the distribution of that funding from the CAC's experience and judgment, and then also additional community input that's been gathered, like how much should go to land acquisition, how much should go to affordable housing development, how much should go to immediate solutions like community initiated solutions or other kind of programmatic funding to help people in communities who are at risk of getting displaced right now. So how should we divide up those funds is kind of what we were looking at.
Thank you, Ms. Sowers. I also provide a short update on behalf of the governance working group. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gonzalez, do you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't sure I had a question until you asked, and then I was sure. So you said we'd be voting on that in February? Is it possible? When will we get access to that information?
You will probably get that. Ooh, this is a good question. We're going to try our best to give you at least a week in advance to the previous week, or at least by the early that week so you can look at it.
Right.
We'll try our best to do that.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Governance working group, also very excited to have our new committee members here. As you all know, we have the ability to appoint 2 ex officio members as a part of that nominating process, which I was part of. Honestly, I really have to say we had an amazing pool of applicants. It was a very hard choice. And I think the folks that we have, I'm very excited about. But there's an opportunity for the governance working group to go and see if there's folks that we want to bring in as ex officio members. So we'll be having that conversation as well. Any other updates from other working groups? Ms. Berry, go ahead.
I just have a quick question. What exactly would that entail with ex officio members? Like, what does that look like?
So our bylaws and governance documents allow us to have 2 ex officio members who are non-voting members who essentially advise us on various different things. It can be, related to gaps. Like, I'll be honest, one of the ones that's come up quite often is youth. We've been challenged in that way. Folks have challenged us to really engage with younger folks, where there's a lot of writers, but it's hard to have those folks be part of regular committees. So we would have those as ex officios. What that does is it allows them to engage in conversation without them having to count towards quorum or have to deal with a lot of, various different things that they have to do as part of regular membership.
Thank you for explaining that further for me.
Any other working group updates?
I don't know whether it's a working group update, but there is also the Austin Light Rail Advisory Committee, and I am the elected representative from this group to that committee. And I got this sudden call December 3rd that there was a meeting December 4th, and that I had accidentally been left out until that time. But it turns out I didn't miss anything, because their presentation was from Francis Jordan on the business disruption issue. And of course, we'd had that on the previous session. So
this is the perfect time, Ms. Brooks, to provide those updates as well. And thank you for serving on that, because you will likely have to go through this a lot, where you will have to go the same presentation multiple times. But thank you so much for serving on that. Ms. Summers, were you going to say something?
No, I wasn't. I think I was just going to say that I think I just like to highlight, I'm on like every working group, but I think that the Austin Light Rail Design Group may need to be convened before too long. So I might email people in that group at some point soon. So.
And then I know that the DoD working group was looking at some items as well. I defer to you all on however you want to proceed with that.
Yeah, we got some updates about the Riverside planning process. Was that in November, Reuven? When did we meet?
Advertisement for the ETOD working group. For some reason, the city planning department has decided that our opinions are worth listening to. And every 6 months or irregular intervals, we get to talk to planning department people who are at work on these very issues. And yes, the Riverside Drive was one of them.
Yeah.
The whole SB 840, that its impacts on density bonus programs and so on.
Yeah, when was it that we met? November, which may have been after, I don't know if it was before our last meeting or after, I can't even remember. But we meet a lot. ETOD, if you want to be in an active working group that gets a lot of time, and I think give robust feedback that actually gets listened to, join the ETOD working group. Yeah, for sure.
6 months may sound like a long interval, but who else gets to speak to the planning department on 6-month intervals?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks and Ms. Summers. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Crossley.
Hey, I just thought of something that I was thinking might be a future agenda item, but actually, it would be a agenda at a subcommittee. And I think we have a CAP Metro transit subcommittee that's basically all the transit things about Project Connect that are not light rail. But that subcommittee, I think, hasn't met in a long time. And I was just thinking about the rapids and making them rapider, and that like the city council decision on right-of-way use and TxDOT decisions on right-of-way use are basically the thing that could change that and could make them rapider. And so, like, could we have a committee discussion of that? And like, the city has done quite a lot with the transit enhancements, but that's not a Project Connect funded thing. But then it impacts the Project Connect funded Metro Rapids significantly. Maybe I would be happy to lead if it's okay to call that committee together. But wanted to throw out that suggestion.
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Crossley. If you want to do that, please go ahead. And I'm going to volunteer Ms. Ortiz here as well, who, of course, you have the email for. If you have questions for staff or need them to engage in any way, please feel free to reach out to her. But of course, y'all are welcome to, meet separately as well. And for new members, I will talk about working groups in a second here. Any other updates that folks wish to provide? If not, we're going to future meetings and agenda items. A few things we'll go over, and we'll open up to folks who might have future agenda items. One thing I just wanted to mention, actually, for new members, since we are good on time, if you would like to say a few words after this, you can. So I'm giving you a few minutes notice if you want to think about if you want to share something with us. But we, as a CAC, have certain working groups that is a subquorum of members that is present. If you go to the CAC website, you will see all of our working groups are mentioned there. We have the anti-displacement working group, the equitable transit-oriented development working group, the governance working group, Austin Light Rail Design working group, and then the CAP Metro Services and Infrastructure working groups. At the next meeting, and probably for a few meetings, we will continue to put nominations to working groups on our agenda. Please review these. If you want to join one, please let us know. The only requirement is that there cannot be more than 5 members on a committee. So if there are already 5 members in a committee, then that one you would not be eligible. Yes. But also note that we have, like, for example, if we have other people on there that need to be removed, you can sort of look at that, and we'll update all of this. But please feel free to ask any questions that you might have from staff, and they can direct them to me as well, or other working group members as well. Reminder of walking quorum issues, so you cannot talk to all of us about the same thing, but feel free to reach out to people. And if you all want, we're happy to sort of go over what each working group looks at. Most of them are pretty self-descriptive. Governance, I'll just say we've created it for things like ex officio members, for nominations and things like that. Most of the other ones are self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. And again, think about it, no pressure, but we'll keep on putting this on the agenda for a few meetings. There's no requirement for someone to serve on a working group. I would highly encourage it. I think it's a great space to engage. I would also say, if you see a working group where there's already enough people, but you're really passionate about it, bring that conversation. Maybe one of the people wants to step off, because some of us are doing, double or triple duty on these. It would not be a bad idea to sort of make that easier. Mr. Brooks, go ahead.
Suggestion, first we clean up the list. I noticed that Jeremy Hendricks' term expired at the end of December, so.
Yep, Mr. Max mentioned that as well. So they'll make sure that the website is updated for that. Any other questions that folks might have on that? So that will be one future agenda item that we will have. The other one, our speaker, Ms. Joseph, brought up the question of the minutes. I'll work with staff. That's not an agenda item per se. If we need to do something and correct it, I'll work on that, but I'll definitely circle with our staff and make sure that we're consistent in the way that we're doing our minutes, and work on it accordingly. Any other future agenda items? And I know for the folks who have already been here from last year, we have several that are in the pipeline that will be coming up as well.
I would definitely say public art. Maybe that's going to be on ATP's timeline that they're standing that up, but also, I don't know if there's any opportunity to coordinate with the Public Spaces Task Force, but might be something we can talk about. I think it's important. There's a timeliness to it right now at this moment. So just wanted to bring that up. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else right now. That's the main one on my mind.
When does that task force present its final recommendation?
We were told it was a 90-day task force. It started right at the end, like right before Thanksgiving, and then they paused us. So I don't know if the 90 days are still counting or what's going on with that. I could try to find out more and let you know.
All that said, if it looks like the timelines are not matching up, what it would be great is whatever recommendations come from that committee are presented, task force are presented here, but also honestly, if we can share them with both the CAP Metro and ATP teams, because CAP Metro has public art programs and AISD has public arts program. And I feel like if there's a group of people getting together and thinking about it, it would be great to share that with the other public entities.
Definitely. Thank you.
Any other future agenda item requests?
I guess I'll and I'm sure it's on their agenda whenever the time comes, but the updates on the businesses, and the work that they're doing on working with the businesses, making sure that they're not being displaced as much as possible.
That makes sense. We'll definitely bring it back. Just so you all know, in terms of priority, we have probably an update on the EIS, the anti-displacement working group recommendations, the transit improvements from CAP Metro, and then forgetting off the top of my mind, there's at least one more, or the affordable housing blueprint and analysis. Those are right, like they've just been on the back burner for a while. So we're going to bring those forward first and then move to the other items as well. So you'll see them sort of circling, but we're trying to get through our list as much as possible. We didn't get through all of the requests to the end of last year.
And pardon me if this is one of the ones that you were mentioning, like the shade structures, is that one of the ones that you had mentioned?
Yes,
okay, great.
that's
Thank
one
you.
of them. Yep, we were giving a pause to our Cap Metro team that was working on the 2035 plan, and it was the same group. So we really had to give them some space to accomplish that, which congratulations, that's been adopted by the board. So that actually, that team will be able to come and have that conversation with us. Ms. Summers, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I'm just nodding. No.
Okay. Okay, newer committee members, no pressure. If you would like to just introduce yourself, say a few words. I know I have the joy of knowing almost all of you. But yeah, if anybody wants to give that a try, say a few words or just say hello, we're all happy to have you all join us. Oh, Miss McGee, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Liz McGee. I do like video and photography and communications work with nonprofits, and I live in Southeast Austin. I frequently ride the 7, the 311, and the 800 lines, and I'm definitely very interested in, how the anti-displacement actions are going to impact, some of those rapid lines. And it's an honor to be here. I think I know what most of the words mean, but I'm sure I'll be learning a lot more.
Thank you very much. Committee Member Suits, I saw you go off mute as well. Well, you're welcome to say a few words. Oh, it looks like we can't hear you. Is that on our?
This is Stacy.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm in Houston. We had to do a medical trip to Houston, so I'm sorry to coming in on Zoom. I'll be in person at the next meeting. I'm Stacy Suits. I'm Travis County Constable, Precinct 3. That's South and Southwest Austin. I was on the City Urban Transportation Commission from 78 to 85. I worked on the transition part from the city to creating Capital Metro, the legislation, to campaigning to get Capital Metro created. So I have a long-term interest in public transportation and know what we told voters in the early 80s what was going to happen. So I'm kind of following up on it now. And I'm happy to be with y'all.
Thank you, Committee Member Suits, and we're super excited to have Southwest representation on the body. So thank you for joining us.
I got the nod in. Yeah. Hi, all. I'm Cutter Gonzalez. I live off South Congress, and I frequent the one whenever the one frequents me. It's a struggle sometimes, but like I said, I bike and walk, and very excited to be on the route for the phase 1 of the light rail. Who knows if I'll be living in that spot, that many years from now, but we'll see. Just really incredibly grateful to be here. Some of y'all know I run a book club here called Urban Austin Reads, and we've been talking about this kind of stuff nonstop. It comes up anytime we're talking about anything people want to be active on, and it's a real privilege to be in the room to hear from all of you who are making this happen. I think this is one of the, as I was listening to the presentation, I was like, this is one of the things that will be transformative for the future of certainly Austin, but I think the state of Texas. And as a 7th generation Texan, I don't take that lightly. And I appreciate all your work very much. And to the members of the public who come and give comment, that's also so wonderful to hear. So thanks for all y'all do.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Edgar Handel. I live in East Austin, in the Go Valley neighborhood. I mostly like to get around by bike. I try to take transit from time to time with my family. We go on the red line sometimes. I do find it pretty easy to get around by bike in most destinations. I feel like it's easier and quicker for me to get there that way, but I'm very interested in helping Austin become more transit friendly, and I have a little bit of experience doing advocacy to help that happen, but I'm not an expert by any means, so I have tons to learn, and I'm excited to find out more.
Thank you so much, Mr. Handel. And thank you all again so much for joining. I'm super excited. This is a great group of people. We have great staff that we work with regularly and great community members that we engage with. So thank you all very much. And if there's no other future agenda items, and it sounds like there's not, I'm going to go ahead and with no, pushback, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Project Connect Community Advisory Committee at 6:48 p.m. Thank you all so much.